Hey, my name's Adam Betts. I use all Sabian stuff. Had a wicked relationship with those guys, and their gear is kind of everything I want from cymbals, really. This thing is my absolute go-to. It's the HHX 20-inch Legacy, which pretty much works so well as a crash or a ride for everything I play. So that would make it onto about 95% of anything I play. Then up here I've got the Extreme Crash 18-inch. Occasionally mix that up with a few other things, but again the HHX kind of quite dark but fairly modern sound is something I'm really into. It kind of bridges that gap between a kind of warm jazzy ride but with tons of attack and tons of kind of articulation as well, so I love those. They're quite nuanced. And then over here, I've got my 14-inch Artisan hi-hats on here. Again, it's like an updated jazz cymbal. They're warm, tonal, and pretty musical, but you can play them in the context of something quite modern and quite fast. And they bridge that really, really nicely. Occasionally mix those up with some 12-inch HHX hats, medium hats, or even, if I'm feeling particularly fruity, some 10-inch Jojo Mayer HHX Fierce hats, which have that kind of fun pitched up jungle sound. I use those quite a bit. This is a Gary Noonan kit, and I use a lot of his stuff. Fantastic drums. These are the fiberglass ones, and I've got all the kit of it, the complete colours, the blue, orange, red, green. So here I got my 24x15 kick, and my 16 by maybe 15, maybe 14. We trimmed it down a little bit. It was 16x16, and then I asked Gary to take an inch or so off the bottom. And then one of his amazing brass 5.5x14 snare. I love the drums Gary makes. They're amazing quality, but also I love having the relationship with the guy that makes them and being able to say, can I get the snare that sounds like Clyde Stubblefield, or can I get a bass drum that sounds like this? And yeah, he lent me his bass drum when I was having my Tama kit repaired by him, and it was like, oh, I need to buy this kit now. So I've been a fan of his for quite a while. And then on the left here I have a Tama mini timp snare. The kind of heart of the setup for the solo thing is the Roland SPDS X. I use it as the kind of brain for all the triggers to go into, and I also have a foot switch down here, the Boss FS6 foot switch, that basically adds 2 more triggers to it, if you will, that I can use with the left foot. And because of the 6 ins on the back, that just comes out as USB straight into Ableton. So all the samples and the audio processing is happening in the laptop. It kind of makes it really doable. It's the only way round to make this work. It's also why I have just the closed hi-hats there. It's now my left foot's doing quite a lot of sampling, sample playing or triggering for noises to happen with the kit. So yeah, through the Roland thing, I've got trigger on the kick and the snare and the floor tom, and then just an extra pad over here next to the small snare. So all the SPDS stuff is going into Ableton Live. The first bit that's probably worth mentioning is the opening kind of bass drum riff is, if you can see down there, is cycling through (16) different bass drum samples, and that happens on both of these pads. So when I kind of move from the original riff to you really hear that kind of flowing change of bass drum sound, which gives it that kind of glitchy texture while I'm just playing on one pad. Can be a bit risky when it goes wrong if you're really relying on it being the same thing. And I have that on the floor tom. Same thing going into the same set of instruments, and on the bass drum trigger as well. So we're not really using the triggers to try and replace the sound of the drums, but just give them that kind of creative electronic synthesized sound. Similarly, I have some mics coming in, and if I just show you the effects chain that's on the snare drum, the one highlighted there is an envelope follower, and you can see as I play the snare, it picks up the signal and listens to that. I have that going into a pitch shifter that is pitching the reverb. So right now it's off. As I turn it on, you can see and hear that pitch jumping up and down on the snare drum there. So that gives, again, just a pretty fun texture. Probably the only other bit on this tune worth mentioning is the left foot melodic sampler. So just for the kind of bridge before it kicks in, I can just hit that and get one of those phrases. Just so I'm not having to play along to a click. Basically, I love the idea of never being stuck to a click, because, you know, it's one of the fun bits about being on the drums. And for the very outro, I moved to a new set of instruments, and on this one I have an arpeggiator. So it's just playing one bass drum note. Whew, that's loud. I play one bass drum note and I get this kind of long sequence of notes that's all these synths playing. If I play a sparse bass drum riff, it gets all the way to the top of the arpeggiator. If I play busy, so that's kind of how I have a bit of fun in the outro there. Not entirely sure what I'm going to play, but I know it's going to, you know, if I play a lot on the bass drum, that riff will start again loads of times. If I play it once a bar, then it gets all the way up to the top. And I can just cut that off by shifting down another scene with this pad. So I'll be playing. I have a little bit of chaos. So I've assigned one of the pads on this song to turn on this audio channel that you can hear I get some kind of weird got these crazy beat repeat effects going on. Quite occasionally. And that just adds to a bit of chaos once you're playing through the beat. You get that nice kind of fun pitching thing at the end. And that's really all the kind of the combination of all this technology is how I'm playing all the music on my solo record.